say that the White House position remains that the president did all he could do within his legal powers.
Absolutely.
And now Hillary Clinton is saying that she would go further. So she is effectively, in the view of the White House, proposing to go beyond the bounds of what is legally permissible by the president.
Well, again, I'll let Secretary Clinton and her campaign describe exactly what steps they envision taking.
And I'm not asking for a legal pronouncement. It just seems like an obvious statement. You've said the White House belief is the president went as far as he could. Now Hillary Clinton is saying she will go further. There seems to be a conflict.
Well, again, there may be a legal explanation that they have that you should ask them about.
Sounds like little anything you can do, I can do better going on there.
I was just saying I would not want that job.
Yeah, that's a tough job, the press secretary. That was a press conference yesterday. Josh Earnest was put on the spot there from ABC's Jonathan Karl over Hillary Clinton's claim that she would expand the president's amnesty further. That's a great place to start with our roundtable.
It is.
Let's go ahead and bring in Chelsi Henry, attorney and political strategist, and business consultant David Goodfriend, also a regular contributor here at Newsmax TV's president of Goodfriend Government Affairs. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so let me ask you about this. Is this a little anything you can do, I can do better between Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration? Because it does seem like Josh Earnest did not have a lot of patience for that line of questioning. Chelsi, go ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, let's just think about their history from former President Clinton to now Hillary Clinton, who's running for president. It just seems like she wants to do better. She wants to be out there in the forefront. But what the voters need to be paying attention to is, listen, she's flipped on this as senator even when her husband was in office. So it's what exactly does she stand for, and why has she flipped at this moment when she happens to be running for president?
If there are already claims that what the president is doing is flaunting the Constitution, David, why would Hillary make a point of saying that she's going to try to do more?
Well, I think we're squarely in a realm of legal interpretation, and you can see that playing out in the courts right now. You had Republican governors sue the president, the federal government, for this latest immigration action, and the courts will decide ultimately whether or not, as Republicans claim, the president went too far. But there are legal arguments on the other side as well that, in fact, the president has greater discretion than even President Obama exercised. And that, too, is a matter of legal interpretation. There are plenty of smart lawyers, smarter than me, who could sit here and tell you why, in fact, the president took a more modest interpretation of existing law. And it is an interpretation because we don't have a judgment yet by an Article III court, and we will. We'll get one soon. I think that will be an interesting time for you to revisit this subject. Let's suppose, for example,
well, that's why I'm curious about the timing of all this with Hillary Clinton's announcement. And essentially, it's about immigration reform here. But to me, it just seems like, especially with the entry of Bernie Sanders into the race, Hillary Clinton is just trying to firm up the far left base of the Democratic Party, David.
No, I actually think I'm shocked to learn that you think there's politics involved here. I mean,
well, it is a presidential election after all.
But right, so of course there's politics involved. But I think you're looking in the wrong direction. I actually think this is a very clear statement that, as compared to any of the Republicans running for president, Hillary Clinton will be stronger on immigration issues in the views of pro-immigration reform audiences like Latino voters in Colorado, Nevada, Florida, and other swing states. I think it's absolutely clear that this is her staking out an extremely strong position on immigration, stronger than any Republican running today, and that's good for her.
And no matter what she says, her poll numbers don't seem to be taking any effect of that. They're staying very strong for her.
I don't think Democrats are surprised by that at all.
No.
All right, moving on along now. Let's go to our next topic. CarlyFiorina.org has gotten a lot of attention and some jokes. As it turns out, the site was registered to a Michael Link. Media reported Michael Link is an assistant director of digital strategy at Services Employees International Union. And, he just happens to be a large supporter of the Democratic Party. Now, the site was registered back in December when she was first expressing interest in running. Let's start with you, Chelsi. Is this a sign that Democrats see Fiorina as a threat or just a practical joke?
I think they see her as a threat. I mean, they took the time, the liberty to not only register this domain, but to put up site and to put up content. And they're trying to bash Carly. That is their goal. Their goal is to try to minimize her effect. She's a woman running against Hillary Clinton, another woman. And so what they want to do is, at every cost possible, at every turn possible, try to minimize the threat. And it's a shame. Let's talk about the issues and let the best candidate win.
David, your thoughts?
I agree. Let's talk about the issues and let the best candidate win. I don't think this was, let me be clear, this particular act of registering a domain name was one individual. It's not the Democratic Party, but the DNC has certainly put out plenty of statements about why voters should be concerned about Carly Fiorina. In my view, she has a Mitt Romney problem. She laid off 30,000 people and gave herself a multi-million-dollar bonus in the process. Explain that to voters who are having trouble finding a job. Good luck, Carly Fiorina. I don't think that's unfair. I think that's literally what this campaign is about.
All right, well, guys, we're going to take a quick time out. We got to go to a commercial break, but much more to come here. We're also going to talk about the details of the Freddie Gray death and why that might highlight a bigger constitutional problem, not just in Baltimore, but in other urban areas throughout the country. We're coming right back here on Newsmax Now. Now, before the death of Freddie Gray, a lot of Americans had never heard of the term a rough ride before.
But the practice actually has been used in Baltimore and other cities for some time now. Essentially, police officers will throw suspects into the back of vans without seatbelts and take them on a rough ride that's marked by those fast turns and sudden braking.
Well, Freddie Gray, not the first to die after one of those rides. Another Baltimore man named Donnie Johnson Sr. died 2 weeks after suffering a spinal injury while taken on a, quote, rough ride. The case eerily similar to that of Gray's. The Baltimore PD has paid millions of dollars to people hurt in these police van type of accidents. Jake Master, the alleged victim of a rough ride, also sometimes called a nickel ride here.
After that, they started driving like erratically. They would slam on their brakes like after every 1,000 feet, and to make sure that we slammed into something in the back.
All right, so after that run-up, let's continue our roundtable discussion now with Chelsi P. Henry, attorney and political strategist, and also business consultant David Goodfriend, president of Goodfriend Government Affairs. We're learning more about these rough rides now. You know, among the challenges with police, how is this, do you think, going to impact their ability to do their jobs? Go ahead, David.
Well, I think we all should look at this with great disgust. I mean, this doesn't fall along party lines or anything else.
Right, and nor racial lines, as evidenced by that.
Or racial lines. That's right. I mean, we as a society give a police officer a badge and a gun and tremendous authority to uphold the law, and it's just like any other form of corruption. Really, when you see somebody abuse that power in the name of the public trust, it's horrible. Now, what can be done about it? I think we all ought to be of the mind that greater transparency is helpful. If you have an infection, you put some sunlight on it and it clears it right up. And I do think that the notion of greater transparency into the policing process, greater checks and balances between different jurisdictions so that we're not always having the fox guard the chicken coop, that's really, really helpful and important. And I do think, just to add the political point again can't be overstated. This is a place where left and right converge because it's really about civil liberties and not having the state, the government, overstep its bounds. You know, the constitutional Fourth Amendment was designed to put some restrictions on the state, the government's ability to invade your privacy, to take away your rights. That goes back to the early founders of our nation. Because they were reacting to British soldiers storming into a home anytime they wanted to.
And also, Chelsi, too, the Eighth Amendment of the Constitution comes in here. We've heard about some of these protesters who were arrested with the bail at $500,000. Right. Now, obviously, there's folks who did a lot of things wrong here, but when you hear about that stuff, I mean, is there going to be anything that changes here? Because folks, again, would say this is nothing new.
Right.
There's more attention paid to it right now, but we should probably or will go back to the way things always have been.
Right. And so not only do we need transparency, as David said, but we also need accountability, because the point that you just made, I think, is one that we have to look at, is the fact that, yes, these wounds are being uncovered, but where is the accountability? What are the next steps to ensure that as we move forward, we see positive progress? What is it that's going to be done to ensure that these rough rides no longer take place? I mean, listen, people commit crimes. They do something that they shouldn't have done, but that is not in the hands of the police officer to try to punish them any extra than what the justice system already does. And when we look at the totality of all of this, it's all about systematic issues that are taking place.
Chelsi, I hear both you and David both saying the need for transparency. What do you mean by that? Can you be more specific?
transparency, accountability. So now that this,
I mean, are we talking body? I guess what I'm saying is, are we talking body cameras, or the police is too much responsibility on the police to police themselves?
Can I take a stab at this one?
Sure, go right ahead.
Look, body cameras are certainly part of that. I also think, though, that when you have the Department of Justice open an investigation, that's healthy. That's a different jurisdiction taking a look at how police have behaved within a given community. But I also think we've uncovered a problem throughout the United States with the prosecutorial mechanism. That is, too often the prosecutor is really working closely with police day in, day out, and doesn't want to stop that cooperation. So you have too much hand-in-glove relationship between the prosecutor and law enforcement. What we're seeing in Baltimore is a different kind of prosecutor that doesn't come out of that pipeline, that's willing to say, I will bring a case against police officers. That's rare. And what it suggests to me is that perhaps we examine the independence or lack thereof of the prosecutorial element of law enforcement in any given jurisdiction.
And Chelsi, I want you to quickly have a few seconds to respond to that.
I also think that there's a role for community. When you asked about accountability, transparency, there is a role for the community to play in this, and this is for communities across the country, so that they know what's going on and that they can have a say in how their fellow citizens are being treated. And so that's another portion of it outside of, body cameras. It's for the communities to continue to stand up, because locals know what's going on in their community.
They do. Right. And we also want to highlight, too, this is all coming as 2 police officers were shot and killed this week. So just more evidence of how dangerous it is out there for the officers on the street. We want to thank Chelsi and David very much for being with us. It's always good to see you, too, and we'll have you back very soon.
Thank you very much.